Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Airing Addiction. I'm your host, Dr. Romas. And again, welcome, and we have a very interesting guest today. And some of you may already heard about him, known him, read his books. And his name is Charles Smith. He is a U.S. Army vet, and he's the author of multiple self-help book series entitled Lifelong Experiences. And having said that, I'm going to save the rest for talking with Charlie. So Charlie, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
And again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So start, again, we had a little discussion beforehand.
Yeah.
You're an author.
I am.
So how did you get to that? Can you explain how you became an author?
Well, I started running groups for places like Jeremiah's Inn, Veterans Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
and some other places in the Worcester area. And those programs that I've been, when I was done doing that, I wanted them to be available for the world. So I put them into book form and
Wow.
then onto Amazon.
Wow, so you're on Amazon as well now.
Yes, yep. And then after that, I got invited to a book signing at Barnes & Noble last year.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go. It turned out great. I'm the only author that sold all the books during their book signing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's a feat right there.
Yeah. And then this is actually the first book that I ever wrote as a book.
Mm-hmm.
So like all the other ones were programs before books.
Right.
But
So what inspired it then?
this, my mother died of an addiction
Mm-hmm.
when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my cousin 3 years ago
Mm-hmm.
to opioid
Mhm.
overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost a lot of friends
Wow.
along the way to
Mhm.
addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually been clean myself since 1993.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I went into basic training in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
That was my detox off of cocaine,
Wow.
crack, and drinking alcohol.
Wow. So 93 already. Since
Yeah.
93. That's congratulations on that, first of
Thank
all.
you. Thank you.
And so the Army helped you out that way.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, how long did you serve?
3 years active, 5 years inactive, so 8 years altogether.
That's a good stint.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. So from all of that experience, from the Army helped you, and that's why now I understand, okay, then coping, a coping book like this is really coping, but it's lifelong experiences. And in looking at some of your book titles, it's Operation, like an
Yeah.
Army title.
Yeah.
But that kind of suits this,
Mm-hmm.
meaning this is what you want to do, this is the strategy
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through this book a little bit?
This book, I start out talking about what I think addiction is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually a paper that I wrote in college,
Mhm.
now too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get into like making changes in your life, like Kaizen. Ever heard of Kaizen?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Yeah, small changes add up
Yep.
to bigger changes.
Yep.
And chunking,
Mm-hmm.
scheduling things
Yep.
in your life, and small steps like that. If you work on them,
Mhm.
then they'll make a bigger change in your life.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so you're a person in long-term recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and you're basing a book based on what works for people in recovery,
Yeah, yeah,
as opposed to some experts put stuff out there, and we talked a little bit before we went on air that there's no medical terminology, no clinical terminology,
Right,
stuff
right.
like that, because there's no reason for it
yeah.
necessarily.
I want the average person to be able to read my books and understand them.
Hmm. And use them.
Yeah.
Then.
And then I put in, you'll love this when you see it, the eight dimensions of wellness.
I like that. Wellness.
And in every one of the 8 dimensions,
Yep.
I put coping skills pertaining to those 8 dimensions.
Nice. So you're tying in, and I think this is significant, because so many of clinical books and all that, they talk about our typical, cognitive behavioral therapy, this, that, and the other thing, which is good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But rarely do you see books on coping that are based on wellness. And wellness comes from the 8 dimensions from SAMHSA, the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
tied the two together.
Yeah,
Because, okay, recovery is recovery. It's wellness.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's very cool.
And I put in mindfulness, and I put in, at the end, you'll see, I think like 7 people got together and put their recovery stories.
Nice.
And so that shows that recovery is real.
Yeah.
And I put my own story in it too.
It's not a theory or something like
It's
that.
not a theory, it's something that happens with everybody, as long as you can stick to your regimen, you know,
Yep.
to your recovery, then you can do it.
See, and you're a perfect example. You're an author,
Yeah.
and you're on Amazon, for God's sakes.
And 18 years ago, I was a homeless veteran.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing what you went through and all that for folks to understand?
No.
So, okay, so you lost your mom at a young age,
Yes.
and then other things happened as well. So,
Yeah, and then my father took us out to Texas and Arizona.
hmm
In Arizona, I lived on a Navajo reservation,
wow.
and I was one of the only white kids
Mhm.
on the reservation.
hmm
And then
Wow.
he moved us to Texas, Van Horn, which is right on the border of Mexico.
hmm
I was one of the only white kids there.
hmm hmm
So I got bullied for
Being
pretty
different as
much
well.
the color of my skin, you know?
Being different, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me if I'm prejudiced when I talk about that, but
Mhm.
I have a son that's half Hispanic,
hmm
so
So, no, it doesn't sound like it.
he's my proof.
Well, I mean, I think, like everyone's aware, there are prejudices on anywhere, any given culture, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a human, unfortunately, it's a human trait for everybody,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing, all cultures. Okay, so from there to there, how did you wind up, okay, so segue, school, all that.
So then my father died when I was 11.
So also early age.
Yeah, out there in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow the authorities out there got a hold of my family out here,
Mhm.
the Dorenzos, which is a pretty well-known name.
Mm-hmm.
And my family sent my uncle down to go get us, brought me back
Mhm.
here. But then I was so torn by all the trauma that I experienced that I taught for 6 months.
Wow. That's a traumatic experience.
Yeah. After,
6 months.
Yeah, after I got back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to school. In high school, I started dabbling in pot
Mm-hmm.
and drinking,
Mm-hmm.
try to get my mind
Yep.
out of what I want.
The trauma.
Yeah, the trauma, yeah. And until you firsthand, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a presentation, we were talking earlier, on opioid use disorder
Yeah.
and traumatic experience and the links between that. But it applies to all SUDs to that degree,
Oh, yeah.
substance use disorders.
Yeah.
People experience trauma, and for some resolve it somehow, others it's more difficult to. And let's throw in then, okay, you're by yourself at a young age all of a sudden, having lost parents,
Yeah.
having seen other stuff going on, being bullied,
Yeah.
that, how do you cope?
I got bullied all through school too, pretty much all through elementary and part of middle school, but then I started hanging out with the stoners,
Mm-hmm.
and they pretty much made sure I didn't get picked on.
Oh, so that was the
But-
safety net.
Yeah. Not a good safety net, but it was a safety net. I mean,
Yeah.
They turned into some of my best friends that I've had in life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in contact with 1 or 2 of them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Well, at least they offered some protection, right?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, coping mechanisms. Here's your book. You're an author on coping mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
Coping techniques.
Yes.
And you went through and you said, the techniques I was using as a kid weren't working for me.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even at a young age already, you started going like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the draw to get you then into the Army?
I was hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with,
Mhm.
and doing stuff I shouldn't have been
Right.
doing, and my aunt that I lived with told me, get out, get a job and I'll come back.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
What
then
age was that?
20.
20.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 1920.
Yep. So she said that was it, and that was the push then.
And then my father was in the Army. His father was in the Army. I have a long line of
Oh, okay.
military.
Okay.
And I figured, why not?
Yeah.
You know, I'll just, if I'm gonna get out and get a job, I'll get out and get
Right.
a job. I'll go
Right.
in the military.
That is a job. Yes, it's a
Yeah,
career too.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, did you serve in somewhere or just on bases?
I went to Guantanamo Bay for 6 months.
Wow. Okay.
We had riot control,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Cubans and Haitians that were trying to get into the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And what we had to do was put them into camps
Mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
keep them in camps.
No,
And
like
try to-
refugee camps.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And try to get them to where they would, even if it's United States, trying to get them to where they want to go, but
Right.
we couldn't just let them all go
Right.
wild,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 6 months. That's a hell of a job then.
Yeah.
Doing stuff
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. The
And-
rest of my time I was in Colorado Springs.
Oh,
Fort
okay.
Carson, Colorado.
Okay, not a bad place to be.
No, if I ever retire, I want to retire there.
Really?
Yeah,
I've heard Colorado Springs is a beautiful little city.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah.
No, that's very nice. So then, what made you come back here to Massachusetts?
My family is from Massachusetts.
Right.
And I figured I'd go back to the family when I was all done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started my own family
Mm-hmm.
for a little while
Mm-hmm.
after my homeless spout. And I should back up a little.
Yeah, so what happened?
I was homeless because one of my biggest triggers
Mm-hmm.
is loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Okay.
lost my grandfather
Mm-hmm.
and my uncle that raised me
Mm-hmm.
a month apart, both due to cancer.
Mm-hmm. And that is a huge loss for anybody, I would think.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially for somebody you lost parents, then also family who raised you.
Two more
Right.
parental figures. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Did that re-trigger you to use again?
It didn't.
It didn't.
No.
Wow. Okay. So you had already some strengths going on.
Yeah.
Was that due to the Army?
I became a carver,
Mm-hmm.
cutting them on myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried taking a bottle of sleeping pills
Mm-hmm.
one time
Mm-hmm.
just to end it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
right. That's right before I became homeless.
Mhm.
I lost the place that I was living at because of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
So what saved you?
seeing other people going through the same stuff that I was.
So empathy for other people. Wow.
Yep.
People that didn't go through what you went don't have empathy. Many people don't have empathy,
Right.
period. And you're going through this, and yet you have empathy for others.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
No, that's powerful stuff. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I ended up in veterans shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think based on, you've seen stories in the news and media, that veterans still have a tough time at it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, everyone thinks, oh, it's just from Pat. No, it's still going on, even now.
Yeah. I just went the other day for my comp and pen exam. I don't know if you know what that is.
I've heard of it. I don't.
Compensation and pension exam for if you have a PTSD trait
Mhm.
that happened while you were in service.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I was in a tank that exploded.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's my trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get service connected for that.
So do you have to go through Veterans Affairs?
I had to go through the Veterans Affairs,
Mhm.
and one of the final steps is what I did the other day. I went and talked to a psychologist
Mm-hmm.
and talked about all my post-traumatic stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how are you dealing with, if I can ask, your PTSD?
It's day by day.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
like
exactly.
like
Yeah.
everything else.
Yep.
I maybe got 3 or 4 hours sleep last night,
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I always go out with a smile on my face.
Mhm.
I always try to be positive.
Yep.
Normally I wake up every morning, I do yoga,
Wow.
and I do meditation.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned mindfulness, for instance.
Yeah. And then I have my breakfast, coffee, and then I go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get out of work and I go to the gym, and I also do martial arts. And
So you're very much into wellness.
yeah, yep.
That's clear.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's a busy day.
Yeah, yeah.
When do you have time to write?
At night, I
Wow.
dedicate about a half hour every night
Mm-hmm.
to writing.
And you mentioned, and I don't want to jump the gun, I know you mentioned you're beginning another book.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
In about a month, my memoirs, I'm starting my memoirs,
Mm-hmm.
and in about a month I'm going to have the first one done. It's going to be another series, and the first 10 years of my life, or
Mhm.
11 years of my life,
Mhm.
is going to be in that first book.
Wow.
It's going to be out in a month. And then I have another one coming out in June. I entered that one into a contest, so I can't
Mhm.
have it published until June, but that's going to be my first children's book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on situational awareness and
Mhm.
bullying prevention.
Wow. And you can speak from experience then.
Yes, yeah. I'm actually running programs right now too for that
Mhm.
situational awareness and bullying prevention. I just ran one last week in the Millbury Library,
Wow.
and I'm trying to get other ones set up.
And I can tell you that bullying still is, we talk about other pandemics going around, bullying is still a pandemic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It does go around, it's still there, and imagine how many kids are going through that. You went through it.
Yeah, and it's not just kids.
That,
You know,
good point, good
it's
point.
kids, it's adults.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can get bullied at work, you can
Mhm.
get bullied on the streets, you can
Mhm.
get bullied anywhere,
That's-
at any age. You know?
That's very accurate. Okay, second book might be bullying for adults and how to avoid and how to cope with it, right?
Well, I already got that out.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, my Operation Enlightenment book.
Oh, okay.
It's practical awareness.
Right.
It's got a lot of tips from when I used to be a private investigator
Mm-hmm.
and a security consultant
Mm-hmm.
and in the military.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those types of tips to teach people how to protect themselves through knowledge instead of using a fist. Because anybody can
right.
anybody can raise a fist.
Right. Right.
But to think your way out of a situation, like it's got active shooter
Mhm.
training in
Mhm.
it,
Wow.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So you use the term practical awareness, and can you explain, I like that term. What does that mean exactly?
Just everyday awareness.
So it's sort of like mindfulness, so
Yeah.
practical meaning to use every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I understood.
Yeah. Like, have you heard of the white stage of mind?
Yes, that I have.
You have.
Mm-hmm. So,
What's that?
okay, expand. Well, expand on that for everybody, because I can explain it in a clinical term. I can't
Yeah.
on every. So,
Well, when I was training as a bodyguard,
mm-hmm.
I got introduced to this, and white stage of mind is
Mm-hmm.
78% of people go through life unaware, unalert, and unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the first person that ever told me that they understand that they know what that meant before I told them.
Because, and I've only seen it twice when I review literature and all that stuff. The way I understood it, and I certainly understand that, is that, yeah, it's 78%, some even said 80%, even higher, that they are not aware of certain of those areas.
Now that cell phones are more prominent,
Mhm.
and I'm sure that it's higher than 8.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so too.
Everyone's driving or walking around with their phone in their hand.
Right. But that diminishes awareness,
Oh yeah, definitely.
complete awareness. And
Yeah.
And in fact, what it's doing, and that's why I understood it, and that's why I said I can explain it clinically, but I thank you for explaining it that way, because in a practical awareness, we as a society, well, as a human culture, are, like you said, the cell phones are taking all of that awareness away from us.
Yeah, definitely.
It's embedded maybe in that device, but talking to each other,
Yeah.
not as much,
People can be in the same room and be texting each other.
and not being aware of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, no, thank you for bringing that up. That's phenomenal, because and let me bring it back to the bullying piece now.
Yeah.
So practical awareness helps folks as well in bullying,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
and so to be aware of your surroundings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So these are, to me, these are very much, what's the term I'm looking for, real life coping techniques, coping skills
Yes, definitely.
that folks in recovery, whether it's early recovery, long-term recovery, non-recovery, not from addictions, it could be just recovery from other things,
Oh, yeah.
everyday life,
Yeah.
to be used that way.
That's what I tell people about my books too, like this book, it might say addiction recovery on the top of it, but
Mhm.
anybody can benefit from reading this book
Mm-hmm.
because of the wellness and the coping skills,
Yeah.
and Kaizen and chunking and all that.
See, stuff like that, techniques such as chunking, chunking for folks, that I can explain that too, is basically putting pieces of information in pieces so you can, what's the word I'm looking for, digest them better and understand them better.
Right, right.
Because if you have too much information, you're not going to take it in. And so what we see sometimes when we do certain, I guess, pieces of treatment, I've seen it in other places where it's too much information, it's overwhelming for a person in early recovery to get it all, grasp it. Breaking it down into chunks, it's easier to understand pieces.
Right, right.
But does that make sense?
Yes.
Explain it like that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So having done that, because this is a valuable tool, I think, for folks, because it's, from looking at it, it's an easy read, no clinical stuff.
Right,
That's not, you don't need it.
right, right.
But you also have a lot of diagrams, pictures and stuff for folks who might have issues from addiction. They're probably better able to process it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's visual, it's words, and it's in everyday terms. I love it. I love that part.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, I know we chatted a little bit earlier, plans on trying to get these into programming and stuff like that, programs and
I
stuff?
would love to do that. I'm going to go down to Detox after this,
Mm-hmm.
talk to them and get them a couple of copies of the books.
To peruse through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I totally, I think you also shared that you gave some to folks at Everyday Miracles here in downtown
Yes.
Worcester.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a person you know as a guest last week,
Yeah.
Bridget,
Yeah.
and I bet you that would help folks even there, a couple of copies in there, just so they can use it, thumb through it, say, hey, that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So going forward,
Yeah.
aside from more books, ongoing?
Yeah, yeah, I want to continue writing books and running programs. Like I started going back to Veterans Inc.
Oh, wow, okay.
A couple of Thursdays ago, and I'm going to
Mhm.
go every other Thursday
Mhm.
and talk to people about PTSD.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
I think that's very significant. Again, folks don't always understand. Clinical folks, we understand PTSD at certain levels, right? But at PTSD for a veteran is, in my mind, probably a little different. Maybe. Symptomology might be same as they say and all that, but it's the experience that was a little unique, perhaps. So not everyone can say I was in a tank that exploded, for instance.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, a trauma is a trauma for whomever you are. What a trauma is for them may not be for me, and vice versa, and that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
But here, this is unique, veteran traumas.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me ask, and I'll put you on the spot, do you think
Sure.
veteran issues are being addressed okay in clinical settings? Or do we need
I
more?
think it's getting better,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we need more.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, just with the PTSD,
Yep.
it's hard for people to understand. Like someone that's never been in the military,
Mm-hmm.
they can have an alphabet after their name.
Right. Doesn't
But
matter.
it doesn't matter. If you weren't in the military, if you didn't experience at least something kind of similar,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get the message across. And a lot of veterans don't listen to people
Who are not veterans.
who are not veterans,
Mm-hmm.
and people that only have clinical, setting behind them.
But you know what? Because it could be that there's a gap. You aren't part of that culture.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes to understand a culture, you have to be part of a culture.
Yeah.
I get that. You can have all, like you said, all the alphabets behind your name and all that, and you're still not part of the culture.
Right.
It's a similar thing probably with first responders and things like that,
Oh, yeah.
because that's part of a culture.
Yeah, yeah.
And so me coming in saying this, that, and the other thing, say, okay, thanks, get it, but you still don't get what we went through, what we did. And they're right.
Yeah. And then they're a little intimidated. Like, I remember when I lived in I'm not going to mention names, but when I lived in a veterans facility,
Mm-hmm.
they once told me, oh, if you guys start any trouble, we're going to send a SWAT team in. Like
The
an
SWAT
actual
team?
SWAT team. Instead of having, like, a cop go
Mm-hmm.
and check out the place, they surround the place.
So,
Because
but that's re-traumatizing.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're so trained the way that we're trained that they're afraid to send a cop in. I'm like, so you're gonna send a SWAT team in?
Almost combat
Yeah,
level.
that is simulating combat into a veterans facility, and you're asking for trouble.
You're not only asking for trouble, but you'd set guys back
Yeah.
on their recovery from the trauma
Definitely.
that they went through.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that just shocked me
Yeah.
to hear that.
Shocked me when I heard it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was years ago. Hopefully they learned.
Stops. Hopefully they don't do that practice anymore.
Yeah, that was 18 years ago. But I was like,
So
seriously.
imagine, okay, forget the trouble of a bunch of combat vets reacting. They're re-traumatized. What's worse is they probably could relapse
Oh yeah,
because of that.
yeah, yeah. Especially when you trigger your PTSD and you don't have any coping skills or anything behind you.
Right.
Like, I am shocked at myself that I didn't start using or
Mhm.
drinking again
Yeah.
when I
Right.
went through that with my grandfather and my uncle dying.
Right, the triggers.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what stopped me from doing that, but something stopped me from doing it.
Something in you was strong enough,
Yeah.
maybe. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That something inherently strong said, no, I don't need to go in that direction anymore.
Right.
And I wish other folks had that. Unfortunately, from traumatic experience, not everybody has that strength.
Yeah.
They feel powerless, they feel ashamed, maybe guilty, and then they turn to the only coping they know is
I mean,
addictions,
some
right?
people think that it's because I didn't have any like 1 or 2 trauma events happen in my life, my whole life.
You've had multiple
Trauma
series
event.
of
Yes.
trauma events
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
And that's, thank you for pointing that out, that you had to live through that. There are folks, some people have one traumatic event and they can be traumatized and have PTSD. Others live through a series of events in their life and get PTSD. Trauma is trauma is trauma. This is lifelong to that degree.
Right.
But tell me, you're seeing somebody for the PTSD, and
Yes.
you're working on that.
Yeah.
And that's not something that goes away just like that either,
No.
overnight.
It's not.
But what you're showing is resilience, to me anyways,
Yeah.
because your coping skills, not only, okay, you're expressing your coping skills here in your books, but in your everyday life, from the wellness perspective to health to everything else, giving back.
Mm.
And that's building resilience in yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was either, especially when my son was born, he's 7 years old now,
Mm-hmm.
especially when he was born, it became clear that I had to do something. I had to keep on moving forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So a catalyst to keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's powerful,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah.
And you know, making a connection. You know, here's your son being born, and at you said 6, you lost your mom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so here, you're making sure that that doesn't go away for him, perhaps.
Yeah.
As best as you're taking care of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, what a nice, I hate to say it, that circle of life thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And what I always tell people now is do the math. I tried committing suicide 18 years ago. I have a 7-year-old son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do the math.
Yeah. So you can clearly see that life does get better.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's part of the programming that we do here is for folks to get inspired, to get hope. And I just by us talking so far, you're doing it.
Thank you.
That life is going on, an author, an ongoing author as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just successful at a healthy, well life. Huge.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Wow, and you don't have to thank. It's on you. Thank yourself. My God, that's wonderful. People who didn't go through your traumas don't have what you have sometimes. Whether it's through lack of awareness,
Right. Right.
or just maybe sometimes they don't want to. Here, you're driving yourself forward,
Yes.
despite the PTSD, despite the histories. You're doing well. You look well, you sound well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
You know, like I said, I just keep on pushing forward. I wake up at every morning at 6 o'clock and do what
well,
do what I can do. Start with my yoga and end with writing a half hour in my book.
so I think it's great because that's catharsis, meaning you're taking it out of here, putting it onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, this is garbage, this is good, you know, that kind of stuff,
No, yeah, definitely.
you know.
Yeah.
And it helps to calm everything down, remove it.
Yeah.
Like some people write diaries, for instance, to take it out of here.
Yeah.
So in your other books,
Yes.
Enlighten, you said, shows the art of self-protection.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Mind, tell me about that.
Happy Mind is a positive thinking workbook.
Wow.
That's the third in the series,
Mhm.
right before this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that I did the Operation TIP, my second book,
Mm-hmm.
and which is Trauma Informed Program Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Happy Mind to kind of compound on to that one, to put more positive thinking and mindfulness.
Okay, so
and
so-
affirmations and all that.
Okay, so that's where that evolved. So the TIP Plus, tell me about that,
Yes.
Trauma Informed Programming Plus. What does that mean? We know, we talked about Trauma Informed Care and all of that.
Yeah.
What's the plus piece?
The plus means I have a lot more information in there than in your normal trauma informed program.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a lot of different mindfulness techniques in it. I have more coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
I have talk about people that are in prison.
Mm-hmm.
They have a form of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, being imprisoned,
Yeah,
incarcerated
yeah.
is traumatic.
Post-incarceration syndrome is what it's
Oh.
called.
See, that I've not heard of.
Yeah, and I have that in the book.
Huh.
There's a lot of information that I have that people normally won't see.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm going to get my hands on that one too to see that. Because, for instance, at New England Recovery Centers, Spectrum Health Systems, we are getting everybody certified in trauma-informed care, or at least attending it and getting trained in it. So our approach is what we call universal precautions,
Yeah.
meaning we're assuming everybody has trauma in their life, which is pretty accurate. Everybody has some trauma.
especially these days.
Oh, God, yeah. It doesn't have to be necessarily PTSD level. It could be other trauma that still is there. kind of thing for folks. And
Yeah.
let's face it, everybody has some form of trauma or had it somehow, was affected by it.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, I'm going to grab a copy of that book to see what we can pull from it and maybe use as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we're missing some stuff that might be useful for folks.
I'd be glad, more than happy to come in and do a talk too.
Oh, that'd be great. I will take you up on that, because that way it's not just me talking about it, it's somebody who wrote the book and can speak of it and
Yeah.
to it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Thank you on that. I will take you up. We'll talk after we're done here. I think we'll get you a good audience too.
Sounds good to me.
So going forward,
Yeah.
and I don't have my time schedule. Are we still okay for time? Okay. Sorry, folks, I had to check because don't have my watch with me. In the past, what I've asked guests is, give a one takeaway. What would you like to really send a message home to? You have an audience. What would you like to say? It's sort of a pedestal moment, as they say.
Hope. Always have hope that things will get better.
That's fantastic.
Because
That's simple.
no matter how hard your life is, it can always get better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're proof.
I am.
And you're sending the message forward. And that's the best thing there is. No.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you,
Thank you
Charles.
very much.
Very, very much. And I thank everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it. It will be into podcasts as well. And please, do you mind showing your book again to folks?
No, not at all.
And please take advantage. If you see the book, it's on Amazon as well. It's worth looking into. It really is for folks. It's not you don't have to be part of a program or something. It's for everyday living. So take advantage of it.
Can I give them my website real quick?
You sure can.
It's lifelongexperience.net. So lifelongexperience, all one word, .net. And you'll see all my books, see any interviews or events that I'm going to, all that.
So
You can
again,
contact me from there too if you want.
thank you, Charlie. It's adding to our resources. And thank you, folks, for watching. We'll see you next time as well. Take care.